Hey Paola, it's Maria from B&H.
Hi Maria, how are you?
Good. I heard you were here hanging out on Monetta Lane all by yourself, and I wanted to ask you 21 questions.
That would be great. I found a sweet spot for myself. That's why I'm not wearing a mask. I'm enjoying this beautiful day and just breathing some fresh air.
Awesome.
Go ahead.
Perfect. All right, so I'll get right to it. What are you doing today?
Today I'm just walking around. I am supposed to meet a couple of friends in a couple hours. We're just going to take a couple photos, maybe have a coffee, a drink, and just enjoy the day.
Amazing. And what got you started in photography?
What got me started in photography? I think it was back in 2012 when I went back to Puerto Rico. That's where I'm from. I was introduced to a friend. His name is Sanen. He happens to be a photographer. I think it was the first time that I met someone who was so passionate about photography. We immediately became great friends. We connected, and I would follow him around all the time, and I would just watch him take photos of people. He would lend me his cameras. He would teach me a couple things, and something began to spark. I was introduced to this new world that I never heard of anything of it. So that's so I would call him all the time, listen, can we shoot together? And he would say, yeah. So we created this bond, and that's how it started.
That's awesome. And what type of photography do you shoot now?
So mostly I do travel photography. I do a lot of portraits, people. I love to incorporate my style of photography, which is very cinematic, and I pretty much see everything as a movie, and I just try to make it come to life by using my own, visual style of photography.
Yeah, and New York's the best place for that.
It sure is.
So what was your first camera?
My first camera was a Nikon D40. My friend Sanen, who I mentioned before, he recommended this camera to me, right? And I was like, okay, let's see. So I remember going home and telling my dad, can you please buy me a camera? And he looked at me with this face, why do you want a camera? And I was like, well, why not? I want to be a photographer. So he ended up getting me the Nikon D40, but I remember getting that camera and I had no idea what aperture was, ISO, shutter speed. So I would just shoot everything in auto, and it worked for me for a while, but then I think I ended up needing the money, so I had to sell it, and that was it.
And what's your go-to camera and lens now?
My go-to camera and lens is a Sony a7 Mark III with a 35 1.4 lens. But I think one of the things that works for me is to try to switch lenses. I try to not, just stick with one lens, because I feel like when I switch it up, I can go from a 35 to a 55 to an 85. It helps me stay grounded and just inspired in general.
Yeah, then that's great practice too. And you don't only shoot digital, right?
I do not. I also enjoy shooting film a lot. I use a Minolta X700 and a point and shoot camera. I just love shooting film when I want to take a second and just, slow down and be more selective with my photography.
That's awesome. And what drew you to street and portrait photography?
That's a great question. I think it was back in 2012 when I first downloaded Instagram. I remember downloading the app and just, immediately I was fascinated by all the type of photography that people were shooting, But at the time, I only had an iPhone. So I began taking photos of pretty much everything that I thought was interesting. It was landscape. I was taking photos of my friends, my family, food. But there was something about street photography that made me fall in love with photography. I always say that street photography is my first true love. And then there's something so fascinating about being able to capture human emotion and just documenting life and moments as they happen.
That's amazing. And as you mentioned, your photography is very cinematic. A lot of your images sometimes remind me of a Christopher Nolan movie. How did you come to master your own style of color and how you shoot in general?
Well, thank you for saying that, Maria. I don't think I've mastered it yet, because I feel like my work is always evolving. it's a work in progress. You know, I never want to feel comfortable enough where I stop growing and learning. But I feel like a lot of my influence comes from watching a lot of movies and films and spending a lot of time studying, you know, the angles, the compositions, the colors, and just, you know, trying to replicate it or make it my own.
That's great. You also capture people and reflections through windows. What is it about this composition that draws to you?
So shooting reflections is one of my favorite things to do. I even have a hashtag called Reflection Stories. I started this hashtag at a time in my life where I was feeling very uninspired with my work. And I remember I was going over a book of one of my favorite photographers ever, Vivian Maier, and I saw how she would incorporate reflections in her work, and she would use herself as part of the reflections. And there was something about that it inspired me, you know, and I was like, I need to try this type of, you know, photography or whatever she was doing. So I went out and I started doing it, and everything just changed to me. It's like you have a piece of glass, right, dividing two worlds, and then you have the power to bring them all together. And just the possibilities are just endless with reflections.
That's so cool. And you're also a Sony Alpha Collective member, right?
Yes, I am.
What is that? What is that like, and what does it mean to you?
I became a Sony Ambassador back in 2017, and I think that was the final push I needed to quit my 9-to-5 job and pursue photography full time. I remember I was so happy, and I couldn't believe that was actually happening to me. And looking back, it's like I'm never gonna forget that moment. It was like I felt validated, you know, like wow, I made it. I made so many great friends, and I think they're a brand that supports the creatives. Like I haven't seen any other brand support us like Sony does.
Yeah. And your Instagram handle is Monaris. What's the story behind the handle?
That's actually a funny story because Monaris is actually my middle name. Not a lot of people know that. I remember growing up and I would tell my parents, why did you name me Monaris? Like, what does that even mean? And they would be like, oh, we had a friend that mentioned that name and we loved it and we decided to name you Monaris. And I would be like, okay, but you know I'm changing that name eventually, right? When I grow up and turn 18, I'm gonna change that name. And they were like, you do whatever you want. So when I downloaded Instagram, my name was taken. So I was like, let me just use this name and I'll change it eventually. And fast forward, 5 to 6 years, and now it's the name of my brand. It's the name of my, you know, my whole thing, and that's how people recognize me. And I learned to love it. And now I love Monaris.
And you can't change it now.
I would not change it at all. It's staying with me forever.
That's awesome. And do you have any projects you're working on or coming up?
Yes, I'm actually working on my first photo book. I've been wanting to do this for the longest time, but there's always something that stops me, you know. And this year I was like, I am not gonna wait anymore. So I have my designer. We're currently working on the design, and it's just I'm like. It's nerve-wracking, you know, because you're putting out your work to the world, but it's something that I've been wanting to do, and I can't wait to share with all of you.
That's awesome. I can't wait.
Thank you.
And switching it up a little bit, what are some tips for somebody looking to stand out the way you do with unique images?
I think to be authentic, you know, to have your own voice, to not just try to replicate somebody else's style, you know, come up with your own, practice a lot, take a lot of photographs every day, build your own brand. And I feel like one of the most important things is to not let social media dictate what you post or what you want to share with the world. You know, always share what you love and what inspires you.
That's great. All right, favorite city you photographed? Favorite
city, let's see. I would have to say, when I visited Morocco, I fell in love with Marrakesh and Fez. It was like, it's such a different world from what I'm used to, you know, the colors, the culture was so beautiful. And people would tell me like, be careful photographing them because they don't like it. But luckily, I never had a problem. They would always welcome me with a smile, and I would smile back. And I have so many amazing photographs from that trip.
That's great. And what has been some of the most challenging shoots you've had to do?
That is good. Okay, so one of the most challenging, and I'm never gonna forget this one, I was hired to shoot a campaign for a car company. I am not gonna mention names, but when I get to the set, the person in charge, she hands me the keys to the car, and she's like, okay, so I want photos of you in the car, and you also have to shoot the model, and you have to shoot the car itself. So I was like, oh, so you're telling me that I'm not gonna have anyone, driving us around and parking the car. I mean, it's New York City.
Right.
Like, you know how crazy it is to drive here. And she was like, yes, I'm sorry, this is how it's gonna work. So I pretty much had to drive the car in New York City. It was like the middle of the week. It was traffic everywhere, chaos. So you have me driving the car, trying to park it, and then I would have a tripod, setting it up, shooting me and the model in the car. But it happens. I was able to do it. They ended up loving the images, and I was very happy with the results.
Oh, God. And what has been one of the coolest shoots you've done?
The coolest shoots I've done. Actually, it just happened last year, believe it or not. I was working for American Airlines and Passion Passport. They hired me to travel to Brazil for Carnival 2020.
Wow.
It's the greatest show on earth, pretty much. And we got to experience it firsthand. We were right there. I remember everybody's smiles, and I remember seeing everything and crying because I couldn't believe that I was there. And it was just something that I'll never ever forget.
That's amazing.
And it was right before COVID happened.
Yeah.
So you imagine, we came back and then everything was closed.
Wow. Is there a city or place on your bucket list?
Yes, India, 100%. I've been dying to go to India for the longest time, but I know it's not going to happen anytime soon, but hopefully I'm crossing my fingers. I just want to experience that country because I've heard so many things about it.
That's great. And I know you mentioned you use a lot of different lenses, but if you could only use one forever, which would it be?
Really? You're going to do that to me? Okay, I am going to choose my Sony 55 1.8. I think that was the first lens I've ever bought after switching to full frame. It's small lens, compact. It's one of the sharpest lenses I own. So I would have to go with my 55 1.8.
Okay. And if you weren't a photographer, what would you be?
I think maybe a police officer, believe it or not. I went to school for criminal justice, so I have a criminal justice degree with a minor in sociology. So something along the lines, in the justice system, or maybe even a lawyer.
Wow, cool. And what's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
I would have to say is to find passion in everything that I do, because passion breeds inspiration, and I don't think there's anything more powerful than inspiring others.
Sure. And aside from your camera and lens, what's your favorite piece of gear?
I would have to say my laptop. I mean, without my laptop and Lightroom, I wouldn't be able to do what I do now. And I like to spend hours just color grading images. I put my headphones on, a glass of wine, and I just, edit right away.
That's awesome. Okay, tough question. If there were to be a movie about your life, who would play you?
Who would play me? Let's say, I'm gonna say Anya Taylor-Joy from The Queen's Gambit. I love the way she acts. She's so beautiful. I mean, she's Argentinian too, so she speaks fluent Spanish. I've seen her acting in different roles, and she kills it every single time.
Cool. All right, last question. Who should we interview next?
I think you should interview my very good friend and photographer, Flickman. He's been a friend of mine for many years. He's been very supportive. He's also very talented, and I'm sure he will love to be a part of this.
Perfect. All right, we'll call him right up. We'll let you get back to it, and thank you so much for answering all of our questions.
Thank you, Maria. I hope you have a great day.
Thanks. See ya.
Bye.